Hello and welcome to this new video where we today are gonna make a tier list of all the teams going to Masters Toronto. Um, Now going into this tier list, we're gonna have 5 different tiers: S, A, B, C, and D. Where S is gonna be the absolute favorites. It's usually gonna be one, maybe two teams in this tier. Where it's just like these are actually like I feel like when I watch a lot of people do these sort of lists, this is like sort of the people that are actually competing at for the trophy. But I don't think that's fair for a favorites. Favorites should be like, oh yeah, maybe maximum two teams. Like these two teams are basically like, oh yeah, these teams should be going to the grand finals. And if they don't go to the grand finals, they've had a failed tournament. That's pretty much where my favorites lie. Um, then contender is sort of more the teams that I could see fighting for a trophy, but I don't think it's a failure if they don't get it. Um, then we have dark horse, which is more like teams that I could see winning the trophy, or maybe not fully winning the trophy, but at least going on a bit of an upset run of some sort. I would say the higher dark horse team I could see literally like going on a run and winning, while the lower dark horse teams I would say is more teams that I could see do like a Zeta division run type deal. Then we got playoffs contender, which basically are just teams that I think should be at least competing to get to playoffs. These are like teams that are in groups and might struggle to get out of groups, pretty much. And then we have the visitors, which is just like the teams that I think pretty much will go there, play their 2 games, lose both, and then just go. Um, Now going into we're gonna go region by region. So we're gonna start with the number 1 seed in EMEA Fnatic, and I'm gonna put them in A tier. I do think Fnatic have shown like very rapid improvement, and while I do think the new patch that's happening might slightly benefit Fnatic, Fnatic has also been sort of slow to adapt to the meta sometimes, but also sometimes actually can be like the opposite of that. Like I feel like with this Taya meta, they struggled to adapt. I think they also struggled to adapt last year, but then in 2023, like the meta was perfect for them. So they're very much like I don't doubt that Fnatic will always be good no matter the meta, but sometimes it does take a little while for Fnatic to get to a point where they are good in the meta. And I think that's it might have been a coaching issue this than last year. So that might not be a problem. But also I do sort of feel like although the Teo nerfs are probably a good thing for them, getting Fracture out and Sunset is not. Sunset was a map that they never really felt fully comfortable on, and they're permabanning Pearl, so probably most likely they're gonna get to play Sunset no matter what. And then on top of that, um, if Fracture is going out, which I would argue was like one of their best maps. So going into this tournament, I do think Fnatic has some things they need to patch up, and also like with Kayak and his form, can it stay up for internationals? That's something that I'm still worried about. Right, he started slow as well in kickoff, and he's never been at a fully international event. So it's going to be interesting to see. I do think it's might not be. I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem, but I still do have my concerns for it. I still think they are supposed to be sort of competing for trophies and everything coming into this event, but I don't think that they are going to be like absolute favorites if they don't make the grand finals. They're a failure. Like I think this team, like if this team comes top 4, I don't think that's a bad tournament for them. And I'm feeling kind of the same with Team Heretics, to be honest. I think Team Heretics are at a point where this I think the only reasoning I could see why people would have them as favorites is the meta shift, because I do think they still have sort of a weak map pool. I think they have, although like they look comfortable on every map. I don't think. I think what they do have is like a couple strong maps, and then the rest are like mediocre at best, and that's like where I see the difference between Team Heretics and Fnatic for me. I feel like Fnatic are like incredible on some maps, and then just have like pretty like look pretty uncomfortable on some maps. I think Team Heretics has more of a like they look incredible on Haven, obviously, but then other than that is like they look pretty good on most maps, but not like incredible on any. Um, and that might be an issue, but I also do feel like this map pool, like they never really liked playing Teo, and then on top of that, Fracture is going out, which wasn't a very good map for, and Sunset is coming in, which was their literal home ground last year. So I do think they will pretty much have a free map win against every single team. If their Sunset still looks as good, they will probably have either Sunset or Haven in every single game, which is going to be pretty ridiculous. So I do think this team is going to be really good, but I just don't think like expecting them to, if they don't win the trophy, it's a failure. I don't. That's not really what I think about Team Heretics. Like if Team Heretics is a top 5 team at this tournament or top 4, like I said with Fnatic, I'm pretty happy with that. Now going over to Team Liquid, I have Team Liquid kind of struggling. I do think they're better than what they were at, what they were when they went to what they were in kickoff. But I also do think there's a lot of EMEA teams that have improved as well. On top of that, I do think their kickoff did look a bit rough, but they managed to just make it through. I think they look a lot better now. It's just that Fnatic and Team Heretics are so improved that like it's not really a competition, and I do think that's the case with a lot of teams. Like I think a lot of the teams in this tier will be like they're really good teams. It's just that they're just not fully there to make it into top 8. Um, Now obviously there will be some top 8 teams that I actually think Team Liquid would beat. It's just that they was first seed in the region, and we're gonna talk about that. Like I do think some of the seeds in the Pacific will, for example, like I think Team Liquid could probably beat RRQ, but I just I don't know. I just don't see them. I see them struggling to get out of groups. Let's say that much. Now going into RRQ, as I said, this is going to be a team that's automatically in playoffs, so I can't really put them in a playoff contender. I do think they are a bit of a dark horse, though. Could I see them winning? Probably not. Could I see them going on a run and getting to like a grand final? Yeah, definitely. Like RRQ is a really strong team, and especially like if Jemkin can like look as good as he has in Pacific, this team is scary as fuck. Like they truly are just so scary. Um, Now I still don't think that that creates a good team. It's kind of gonna be similar to how I think of MIBR that we're gonna talk about later. Just I think MIBR is probably a bit of a worse offender in that case. But I do think RQ has a bit of an issue that if Jemkin isn't performing, they won't be. Which I actually don't think MIBR has as much, but I do also think that Jemkin is to the level where he just never don't perform, which is the ridiculous part. He just doesn't underperform ever. So like I feel like if Jemkin performs on this team could easily come top 4. And he should be performing. But also, I could also see a world where Jemkin performs and this team still goes 0-2. So like this team is very, very like difficult to say where they're gonna go to me, and that's why I've put them in B tier. Now Gen G is kind of the same for me. I was actually arguing they might be A tier. I think a lot of people are actually underestimating Gen G coming into this tournament. I do think there's obviously going to be question marks with Ash never having been on an international stage. Foxy9, can he keep up his form? Like both of those players have looked so much better than what we've probably ever seen from them. Obviously, Ash is so new, so it's difficult to say with him, but especially Foxy9. But I just think like the 3 core that we have seen, like with the time they have now, and also them not fully enjoying Teo as much, although Ash was getting comfy on it at the end, I don't think they were fully enjoying Teo. I also think, I don't know how much, I actually don't fully know the map pool of Gen G, like off the top of my head. But I do think, like, overall, I think this patch was pretty decent for Gen G as well. But But yeah, I just think Gen G is a lot better than people think. I do think that they could definitely go on a run and probably actually make it like pretty far. Now, PRX, on the other hand, while I could see them going on a run, I just seriously don't see it at this current moment. And I know they had a bit of a run in stage one, and they looked pretty good. I just don't know, man. I just think there's enough teams at Toronto that could like. I just see it that there's a lot of teams in Toronto that I just see being able to counter their style. That I just don't see them going much farther than playoffs. And if they get out of playoffs, maybe they can deal some damage in playoffs, maybe get a win or two. But I just don't see them going like super far. Now, XLG is probably like a Zeta Division B tier team where it's like, yes, I could see them doing like a Zeta run where they just go on an insane run in the lower bracket or something, or goes kind of crazy, gets like 2 wins and then loses and then get another 2 wins and gets top 3. I don't see them winning, but I do think they are to the level where I feel like a team that isn't fully coordinated could struggle against Eli. And sure, this is an international event, so most teams should be coordinated. But I feel like Sheila is one of those teams that will punish you a lot if you make mistakes. And Sheila themselves, sure, they will make some mistakes, but also, I feel like, okay, let's just say this much as well. The big question for me with Sheila is going to be just sort of, can they keep up their form? Especially with Martin coming in, like, can they keep up this form that we've seen from them? Because they have looked absolutely stellar for the last bit. And obviously, they have a roster move happening with YOU going out and Martin coming in. But can every single player keep up their form, and can they keep this roster still working? That's like the big question for me, because Ararga is in live form. I think Happy Way is in really solid form, and I think the rest of the team are in also really good form. I do think Happy Way is one of those players where you look at him and you're like, okay, like he's probably one, like it's probably just Rarga, the Rarga show with like a bunch of other players behind him. The thing is, Happy Way has probably been like slightly underperforming. Like Happy Way is the second like backbone of that team that's just like ridiculously good. So like I could see this team having some upsets and actually going pretty far. Could I see them fully winning? Probably not. But I could see them going further. I feel like a lot of people are probably underestimating them a bit. Now, the rest of China is kind of shitty, as we start with Billy Billy. And honestly, Billy Billy is just like that team that's like, I could see them maybe getting a win. But it's like, they're just like, they're almost a little bit too one-dimensional. And not only are they a bit too one-dimensional, I also think they just have a lot lacking in a lot of parts. And that's sort of like a part why they are one-dimensional. But I also just think in general, like this team is just not very good. And I mean, we can talk about Wolves at the same time. I think they're even worse offenders of this, where they just feel like a team that just have insane firepower and just runs at you, hoping to win a gunfight. And if they win a gunfight, they win. If they don't, they lose. And it's just kind of like, I don't think it's going to work against any team unless it's like 2023 NRG. Like a team in shambles. Like that's the only sort of games I could actually see them winning. And if they don't play teams like that, I just don't see either of these teams even getting a win. Now, moving on to Americas, the final region here, we're going to start with the only S tier team on this list, and it's going to be G2. I do think G2 is the only team I would be comfortable putting in the favorites right now. Why? Pretty much just based off of like what we've seen so far. Especially like I actually think them losing to Sen and then going back and struggling through the lower bracket to then go and win in the upper bracket actually made me more confident in them, because they were in an extreme slump. Like if you watch their games in that playoff run, and compare it to the games they had earlier in the year, they were not playing as well as they would have earlier in the year. Like, not remotely close. They were playing so much worse. And you could just see, like, especially like after that Valen interview as well, with him literally crying when they made it. Like, they were actually like seriously crumbling sort of under pressure. And you're gonna say, isn't that a bad thing? And honestly, I don't think so. Because I think the reason why this was the case was because I do think that they were sort of in a slump, and with them being in a slump, that's sort of why they were crumbling. Because not only was it looking like they were in a slump, like they weren't looking as coordinated, they weren't like nothing that G2 did felt like it was working. And still they managed to somehow get out of it. And then the second they made Toronto, they looked 100 times better. And not only that, they will now have a month. And sure, I would say like this, okay? They are probably the team that has the worst time after this patch, because obviously like they full committed into Teo, like everything like that. But honestly, like I just believe in this coaching staff. Like I think like people who think that Trent only can play Teo and is only good on Teo are Delulu as fuck, bro. Like Trent is so good. And in general, sure, his Teo is really good and maybe inflated his stats slightly. And that's why I actually do believe Leaf is the better player on that team. But like Trent Sova was still one of the best in the world last year. And you're telling me that just because an agent that made him look incredible isn't viable anymore, that Trent is just gonna turn into like nothing. No. Like this team is absolutely ridiculous. And with the coaching staff they have, they've been able to adapt really quickly to every meta. And I just trust their coaching staff so much. And they're just so ridiculously good. I just don't see a case where G2 underperforms this event. And if they do, it's gonna be a severe disappointment. At least personally. I just think this team is at a level, like the player quality they have, the coaching staff, like everything, and then it being in Canada with Jonah being the only Canadian player, like everything about this event is pointing toward, except like everything except for the meta shift is pointing towards G2 winning this event. And that's why I have them in S tier. And I just seriously believe that this team is just on such a different level. Like when this team is playing its best Valorant, I genuinely believe they're at a similar level to Fnatic 2023, like a similar level of dominance. Like that's just how ridiculously good this G2 roster is looking right now. Now going into Sentinels, I think this is going to be our final A tier team. I think Sentinels definitely want to contend for trophies. I just don't see them being like a main like favorite to win it. I think they have been improving a lot since the last event, and I do think they look really good and look like they can definitely make some real damage. But I just don't see Sentinels being like, if they don't make grand, like if Sentinels, as I said with both Fnatic and Team Heretics, the other A teams, if Sentinels make top 4, I think they've had a great event. Let's just say that much. Now, MIBR, or Made in Brazil, is the final Americas team, and I'm going to put them in C tier together with Team Liquid and... Was there any other team? I don't remember. But, yeah, PRX. Team Liquid and PRX. I do think they have had moments where they've looked really good, but I also think this team has an issue where they kind of rely on us to set up Aspas. And sure, don't get me wrong, I think MIBR is one of those teams that actually can win without Aspas performing outrageously well. But also, because their entire game plan is made up of setting up Aspas, if he isn't performing particularly well, somebody else needs to. And that's the issue for me. they need somebody to perform ridiculously well for the team to function. And I just don't see them doing that against the best teams in the world, as we've seen in Americas as well. Sentinels against G2, like they just don't look up to par. Like they have two players that I would argue are star players. One is arguable, which is Verno, and then Aspas, which are players that could any game just take over. And then you have Cortesia, which I think is a great player that definitely can take over games, but still has some pretty big inconsistency issues. And then Genom and Ardzine have sort of the same things. I would say Cortesia is probably the least inconsistent out of the three. But I do think this team is great, fantastic. But I just see them struggling to get out of groups. I see them struggling to get out of groups. I still think they can, and that's why they're in C. But I see them probably having a bit of a tough time getting out of groups, pretty much. So, this is our final list. We have G2 alone in the S tier. And then we have Fnatic, Sentinels, and Team Heretics in A tier. In B tier, we have RQ, Genji, Shilai. In C tier, we have PRX, we have Team Liquid, MIBR, and then in D tier, we have BLG and Wolves. I do think teams like PRX, MIBR, Team Liquid could like do similar to what Shilai does. It's just that Shilai won't need to. I think Shilai is probably the closest team to these three in the C tier, and I do think they probably are on a similar level to them. It's just they literally cannot be in this tier because although I would put Shilai in super low B. And it's not like these teams can't go on a run. I just think Genji and RRQ, I could see both teams going on insane runs. These teams I could see going on crazy runs, but I could never see them winning. I think, except for XLG, I could see every team in B tier pretty much winning and going on a run and winning. I couldn't see XLG, PRX, Team Liquid, maybe are doing that. And if they do, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous that they do, pretty much. So yeah, that was my power rankings, or not really power rankings, more of a tier list. But yeah, it's a tier list. That was my tier list. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, comment if you want to. And I will see you in the next one.